All right. What's good? Um, it's reanimated Tay. Um, Welcome to my channel. I don't know if that's gonna be the intro. I don't know, but we're winging it. This is the first video I'm recording. Why every man should study Red Hood. As being a Batman fan my whole life growing up, I thought this was gonna be an interesting video. So I actually been itching to react to this. So my first reaction video. Let's go.
Jason Todd is a victim. He's Batman's greatest failure, but that's not the part of his story that matters. What matters is what he became because of it. Because when trauma goes unresolved and anger has nowhere to go, you don't stay the same, you change. And Jason Todd is one of the clearest examples of that in fiction. His change didn't come from what happened to him physically, but mentally. When you're spiraling, questioning everything, and the one person you're supposed to trust doesn't reach you in time.
I will say this though. I know we're like what, 20 seconds in already. Out of all the Batman sidekicks, aka Robins, my favorite one always gonna be Nightwing. That's, you feel me, head honcho number one, Dick Grayson. I'll say Jason Todd's right after Nightwing for me, simply because I feel like his character has a lot of depth, and obviously you got Tim Drake, you got Damian Wayne. I ain't care for Damian Wayne like that. In fact, I find him annoying. Truth be told, I don't care if that's his son for real. Not it. Granted, I do have a Funko Pop of Damian Wayne. Shout out my boy Sparky, but this is not my favorite Robin by any means. I really don't care for him as much as I do when it comes to my boy Nightwing. It's kind of crazy too, because I definitely got your boy Deathstroke and Red Hood right here. Shout out my boy Sparky once again. But oh, Batman Joker. You know, I'm just flexing on it. You feel me? You feel me? I've been true to this. I'm not new to this. Batman right here. You feel me? You feel me? Yes, sir. Anyway, that's completely off topic, but I love this movie a lot. This movie called Under the Red Hood, probably one of my favorite DC animated films, top tier film. But let's get back to
Jason
it.
didn't just lose his life, he lost his belief in the system, in justice, and in Batman. And what he became after that was built step by step, decision by decision, and choice by choice. And this is the exact reason why his story matters, because the themes of the story aren't limited to fiction. It happens to people who never learn what to do with what they're carrying. And if you don't understand that, it doesn't go away, it only builds. And when you break his story down, you start to see exactly how this happens through 5 defining pillars. So let's get into it. Before Jason became Red Hood or Robin, he was just a kid trying to survive on the streets. Not in your typical urban environment like, for example, New York or Chicago, but on the streets of Gotham, a place filled with crime, violence, suffering, and pain beyond imagining. At a young age, Jason lost his mother to illness and his father to Two-Face. And with no one to protect or guide him, Jason had to learn.
It was crazy. I didn't even know that. I remember he was on the road stealing Batman's whip, like trying to take the wheels off his whip. But I didn't know he lost his pops or mother. You just said to Two-Face? That's new to me. I knew his mother was ill actually, but I didn't know he lost his pops, Two-Face.
Learn early that in a place with no structure, stability, and most of all mercy, you either adapt or get left behind, forced to be consumed by Gotham's underworld. So, Jason adapted. He got sharper, more resourceful, and started becoming hands-on. He became the literal definition of the quote, "God bless the child who has his own." That's why when Batman first meets him in Crime Alley, Jason isn't scared like most adults would be. He's stealing the tires off the Batmobile like it's a broke-down Corolla. And that moment tells you everything about what type of kid Jason is. He wasn't weak with nothing to offer. He was already becoming something dangerous. Not
if that was anybody else, bro, say what, he probably like he's 12, 11 here. Bro was 18, back from the beats on him. I know that for a fact.
because he chose to be, but because that's what his environment was shaping him into. And Bruce sees this immediately. He doesn't just see a desperate kid in need of a hot meal. He sees potential and a path that leads somewhere dangerous if no one steps in. Hence why when Bruce takes him in, it's not just a charitable act, it's about redirecting him, channeling his skills before he becomes something Gotham can't control. And for the first time in Jason's life, he's given something he never had before.
I could not tell the difference between him and in the older ones. I forgot. I think it was the one, I think anime series. I couldn't tell the difference between this version of Robin and Nightwing. That's when I was like a younger kid. I thought it was the same character because no, I'm tripping. Batman 2003. This fit right here looks just like the same fit he had. Not even the fit. Forget the fit. hairstyle.
for a purpose.
That's almost
Bruce
everything.
turned his dream into reality when he's given the mantle of
We
Robin.
really gotta
But this
think
is
about
where
it.
people
Bro is really taking kids and putting them into crime fighting. Like growing up, ideally, that sounds lit, bro. Because you never see the superhero lose. You don't see none of that. But in actuality, bro, like these are 12-year-old, 13-year-old kids going out at the crack of dawn looking for the Riddler, fighting Clayface, Scarecrow. Middle school, like, bro, come on now. You have school in the morning. What you doing, gang?
start to misunderstand him because when Jason first becomes Robin, he isn't this angry, unstable kid people assume. He's happy, energetic, almost excited.
Not
But
facts.
even then, you could see the edge that appears from the cracks of his surface. He's a little more impulsive, reckless, and a little more willing to go farther than he should. He isn't malignant or anything, but he has this edge because that's how he learned to survive. He had no one, no father or mentor to teach him differently. And that's what makes the contrast between Dick and Jason so important, because Dick was the opposite. He was the angry one, the one who lost his parents, and for a long time he was dealing with grief, anger, and even depression. But despite that, Dick had control. He wasn't unruly because he had something Jason didn't: stability before the trauma and proper guidance after it. His anger had somewhere to go. It got refined and controlled. Meanwhile, Jason didn't have that. Instead of learning how to control his emotions, he learned how to act on them. And over time, that difference starts to grow.
Yeah.
Jason doesn't stay that little boy he used to be. He starts getting more aggressive, more willing to cross lines, and eventually, the aggression stops becoming emotion and starts becoming belief.
Facts. Nah, that's kind of crazy though. That's truly like the definition of a dominant, imbalanced male. Like where you let impulse control you all the time, and you just can't self-regulate or compartmentalize what you got going on. This is how people get shot in the street, bro. I ain't gonna lie. Like, granted, bro's equipped to be handling people like this, but the average Joe acting out like this, get packed up. I ain't gonna lie.
Robin!
I had to take him down.
You shattered his collarbone!
He's a drug-dealing pimp. I didn't think I had to prop up some pillows before I took him out.
This moment is where everything changes, because Jason isn't just fighting criminals anymore, he's punishing them. And in his mind, that's the only option that makes sense. Because what's the point of stopping someone if they're just gonna come back and do it again? What's the point of rules if they don't protect anyone? What's the point of holding back if innocent people keep suffering?
And I can respect that. Like, when you're younger, watching these films, you don't really see the superhero kill anybody, nothing like that, or be off-screen killings. Like, I remember watching Batman Keaton, not Michael Keaton Batman, a minute ago. I forgot what that came out, probably in the 90s, something like that. But literally, he killed Joker off-screen, so nobody really seen him die, but he died. You know what I'm saying? But that's why characters like the Punisher is very like convoluted characters, because people agree with it, but at the same time don't agree with it, because like, yo, you're killing people, let justice handle them center. But then the argument is like, yo, if you don't end them now, they're gonna just come back and create more violence and harm people that would be fine if you just got rid of them off the rip. I ain't gonna lie, as I get older, I can see the argument for both sides. Now, personally, I think Arkham's not any better security, because there's no way they're constantly getting in and out of jail like this, bro. Like, Joker goes in there for fun, bro. He goes in there to recruit people, and then he breaks out and then create havoc on Gotham, bro.
Friends
Crazy
keep
work.
suffering, and nothing
Like,
changes.
bro, Barbara got shot
Every
for no
action
reason.
ends with the same result: more heartbreak, more stress, and more carnage. And this is exactly where the real conflict between Jason and Bruce starts. Because Bruce doesn't see it that way. He believes in restraint, in rules, in a system that, even if flawed, shouldn't be crossed. Not due to something shallow like law or judgment, but to prevent yourself from becoming who you swore to stop. But Jason doesn't believe in that anymore. He isn't looking at the world like an idealist. He's looking at it the way it actually is. And once you let yourself become jaded like that, you don't just feel anger anymore. You justify it, act on it, and you build a worldview around it. Eventually, you stop listening, not just to the system, but to authority, even to your mentor figures, in this case, Batman, because now Jason doesn't see Bruce as guidance anymore, he sees him as a limitation. And that's where everything starts to fall apart. Because once you stop listening, you start acting alone, start taking bigger risks, you start trusting your judgment over everyone else's, and for a while, maybe it'll work. But eventually, there's gonna be a moment where it doesn't. That mindset puts Jason exactly where it was always going to: alone. Alone without backup, with no one to pull him back, just him and the consequences of every decision that led him there. Jason is captured, beaten, tortured, and left to die. But in that moment, Jason isn't thinking about revenge. He isn't thinking that Bruce failed him. He's thinking about one thing, that Batman is going to fix this. Bruce is going to finally cross that line. Just this once. For him, for Barbara, and for everyone else who suffered or died by his hand. Because after everything, all the fighting, all the loyalty, and all the pain he's endured, that's what Jason believes he's worth. When he dies, he doesn't die angry, he dies believing. But when he comes back, he learns something that changes everything. The Joker is still alive. The man who tortured him, killed him, and broke him completely was allowed to live. And that right there is what actually breaks Jason. Not the pain from being beaten relentlessly with a crowbar. Not Joker mocking his every squirm and movement, making comedy out of his suffering. But Bruce's decision to spare the man who killed his son.
Yeah, bro. It's crazy because thinking from the perspective of Jason, from Jason's perspective, it's like the only thing I had to do, and he said it in the film too, like, take out Joker, bro. We could be a team. I'm not doing all this, like, you feel me? And he just didn't do it. And once again, like, I respect Batman's perspective, like, not wanting to kill, especially this version of Batman, because he, you know, if he crossed that line, that he knows no coming back. Like, that's a hard boundary. If I end somebody's life, then I'm gonna end everybody's life. At that point, y'all gotta put me down. You know, that's the time Batman's gonna be on. So it's like, it's hard, bro. It's hard.
When Jason comes back, he isn't confused. He came back certain. Everything he believed before is confirmed. So this time he doesn't hesitate, nor does he hold back. The Red Hood isn't a different person. He's Jason without doubt and without a filter. Everything that was building before, the anger, the frustration, the need for control seething out, is all still there. The only difference is, now there's nothing and no one trying to reel it in. And that's why Red Hood isn't reckless like your run-of-the-mill anti-hero or supervillain. He's controlled, calculated, and deliberate. He doesn't decide to just fight crime, he decides to control all of it. Because to him, there's no stopping crime, there's only controlling it, forcing it to redirect before it evolves into something untamable. Jason didn't lose his morals, he just replaced them with something that makes more sense to him. From his perspective, he's not wrong, he's just willing to do what Batman won't. And this is exactly what makes him so dangerous. Not because he's out of control, but because he fully believes he's right.
You know, I remember one of my managers said this to me. I'm not even cool with that I do for her, but he says the most dangerous thing on earth, right, is the human mind. And it's like, you can believe whatever you want and convince yourself you're completely right. I mean, one thing I always said, like, you can rationalize anything, that'll make it right. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can say, yo, this happened, so I'm gonna do this, that, and third. You make it make sense. You explain to somebody, but that don't mean it's the right action. So in situations like this, imagine someone who's skilled, a skilled Robin. He's not no lackluster. I think they even say Red Hood is the better fighter when it comes to him and Nightwing, for real. So between Jason Todd and Dick Grayson, he's apparently the better fighter. And yeah, so you got someone almost or is a better fighter than Dick Grayson. And he's moving like this on a very, not even emotional type of timing, but this sense of belief where it's like, yo, I gotta control crime, I gotta put these people down, I gotta be the pinnacle of the mafia, I gotta run this whole criminal organization so people stay protected. Now, in some way, from his point of view, this is a noble act, this is a noble deed. Same time, you are becoming part of the problem still. It's just a controlled problem. You didn't eradicate the situation, you are just keeping it in a small playpen where less people get hurt. But boy, oh boy.
When Jason finally confronts Bruce, this isn't just a fight. It's Bruce trying to understand what went wrong, trying to avoid the obvious answer because Bruce doesn't want to believe that Jason became this on his own. He wants an explanation. He wants something external. He wants a straw man, something he can just point to and blame.
Please, I can help you. I know what happened.
Oh, you got to talking with Raish, huh? But does it make it easier for you to think that my little dip in his fountain of youth turned me rabid? Or is this just the real me?
Everything Bruce is seeing now was always there, and that's what Bruce can't accept. Because if Jason was always like this, he didn't just fail because of what happened, he failed because he never saw it. He failed as a father trying to raise his son properly, and that's where the real conflict arises. Because to Jason, this was never about Joker, it was about Bruce. Because in Jason's mind, there's only one thing that would prove everything, that Bruce would kill Joker. Because to Jason, this isn't about revenge, it's about value. It's about being worthy enough for Bruce to choose him over the rules. But Bruce doesn't see it that way.
Life isn't a game, and death is never a choice. To make it so is our undoing. It would be my undoing. I think about killing Joker every day, ending the monster that I let loose on the world. But I'll never allow myself that release, a promise I made to my father and mother. An example to a son that I will never stop fighting to protect from himself.
So while Jason sees killing as a proof of love, Bruce sees the opposite.
Bro, I'm telling you, that's so much plot armor, bro. Ain't no way you move a bullet like that, bro.
Restraint, and that's why they can never agree, because they're both trying to do the right thing, just in completely different ways. And that's what makes Jason Todd so important, because his story isn't about what happened to him, it's about what was already there. It was also about what happens when no one teaches you how to deal with it. Unresolved anger doesn't just disappear on its own, you need to learn from it and understand it. Because if you don't and can't control it, it grows quietly like a boiling pot of water overflowing. It solidifies in the way you act, in the way you think, and in the way you justify things you never thought you would. Most people don't fall apart at once, they change slowly, and sometimes they don't become something new, they just become more of what they already were.
This was a good video. Is this the end of it? Hold up.
This Jason was lucky. He had the release of death, but not every version of him does. Some of them don't get out. They get taken and they get broken over and over for months until what's left of them isn't even trying to understand anymore. He just wants the person he deems responsible to burn.
No, no, please, please, no, no!
Thank y'all for watching. Oh my god, man, I can't believe how fast we're growing. God.
Nah, shout out to bro. This was a good video. I will say though, the whole topic of this video is valid 100%. But I'm gonna just keep it solely on Batman because that's the topic he used. I definitely feel like where he went wrong, and I guess is applicable to life. But Batman tried to raise Jason Todd same way he raised Dick Grayson. I think that's the issue right there. He saw two kids that needed help and assumed that the way the way Dick Grayson received help is the same way Jason Todd needed help. And he didn't really, I guess, identify that they're two different people per se. He just threw them both into the same Robin fit, trained them up well, fight justice, fight crime, and, you feel me, become bigger than what they previously were, and not, you feel me, beating on themselves the whole time. But, once again, like bro said, Dick Grayson was dealing with grief and depression. Jason Todd was dealing with anger and aggression constantly. So it's like, if those things were never addressed and checked to the fullest as he was growing, it's hard to check when he's an adult. It's better to get him when he's young rather than adult. And then boom, now he just fully manifests into who he already was going to become. And like bro said, Batman was really seen as a limitation more so than an idol or a figure to look up upon and act like. But one thing I can respect about Jason Todd is like, he ain't just jump out the gate and turn evil. Like, his morale is still within the sense of protect people. So it's like he's not targeting innocent people. Like, he's not a criminal per se. He's not like a filmy scarecrow Riddler who's gonna just take hostages for the sake of teasing Batman or trying to have their own ulterior motive. But anyway, if you like this video, make sure you like, subscribe. Shout out to Blunt T. This was a good video. Shout out to you, bro. And I'm gonna keep pushing on to the next.